call the, what is today, the 12th? August 12th meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Roll call, please.
Crane.
Here.
Bear.
Here.
Weir.
Here? Here. Okay, announcements. For anybody that's interested, the county has begun their rural area study, which is going to be ongoing for the next several months. If anybody wants to attend, I'll forward notice of the future meetings, which are an as yet undetermined date. But it's going to be an interesting scenario, and it's going to probably impact the town because, given the consultant's initial take on the current land use maps, both in Prince William County and more particularly in Loudoun, they have seemed to develop a sense that since Prince William County's area bordering Loudoun County, principally in the Gainesville district north of here, pretty much between here and Loudoun County, since our density doesn't match Loudoun's, and Loudoun's is at a higher density, one of their suggestions was that we change the county may want to change the density to match. I suspect that probably wouldn't bode well for the town given the current traffic issues, but I'll keep you guys up to date on that as matters progress. Anybody else got anything?
When's it happen?
It started, the first meeting was July 25th, 26th, something like that. They had it down in Oaksville. It was a boisterous crowd, shall we say. Opinions were fairly loudly vented. We'll see what happens. It's unclear what agenda is actually driving it. It was interesting in that one of the initial slides the consultants put up was that they were trying to develop reasonable responses to the objectives, I think was what their phrasing was. And then 4 slides later, they noted that as it currently stands, they have no goals. And when I asked them, well, if you have no goals, how can you have objectives? They pointed at me and said, well, you found the weakness in the plan. So we'll see how this goes. Any other announcements? Seeing none. Citizens' time. Seeing none. I guess we can dispense with that. Minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 17 and July 8? 2 separate motions, please.
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for June 17, 2013.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I was about to say, do we need a second on that?
Oh, second.
Sorry, second. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Rebecca, second.
And the July 8 meetings?
Okay, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for July 8, 2013.
Can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain. ARB update. Anything to report?
Nothing unusual happening at the ARB.
Council report.
Yeah, we still meet on the first Monday of every month.
You sound distressed about that. All right, town planner report.
Last month, or the last meeting, the council approved the zoning text amendments for Haymarket self-storage. I expect their site plan application to be in within the month, along with their special exception. Continue to talk with Sheets about their rebuild. They were trying to look into using the stormwater pond behind Haymarket self-storage, that big pond behind, if you're familiar with it, by the railroad tracks. McDonald's, there is an easement that controls that first entrance when you come off of Washington Street. And there's been some issues of traffic backing up onto Washington Street. It says in the easement that if the town or Food Line complains about it, then that entrance can be closed. And so Mr. Leeberry, the owner of the shopping center, has contacted me with expressing his concern in that the site plan, which they expect to turn in, which will create dual drive-through lanes. I don't know if you've seen one of those. Recent example I could think of is Manassas, the one off of Liberia. That's not going to be enough to reduce the backup onto Washington Street. So what we've told Mr. Leeberry is let's first see what the McDonald's plan looks like, and then we'll decide whether or not we need to reconfigure how traffic moves in and out of that parking lot. They're also going to be submitting some zoning text amendments. Their menu board was actually approved through a variance. They want to replace that menu board and add a new second menu board with the dual turn lanes. So they're going to propose a zoning text amendment just to deal with menu boards as a special use permit sign. We also have, for some reason, a minimum or a maximum of 6 stacking spaces for a fast food restaurant, which is not typical. I think it was designed to limit the number of fast food restaurants that could be in town.
Yeah, at one time, fast food restaurants, Sheets wanted to do that at one point back in Jack Caff's administration, and that was frowned upon. So my guess is that's the genesis of that.
Well, there's still the restriction on drive-through as a result of the Quarles property, correct?
The drive-through still require a special use permit.
But I thought there was a limitation on how many could be in a geographic area based on linear footage.
It's the distance, correct.
Yeah. Which
And that
I
was the
think-
question Chick-fil-A was looking into possibly going onto the pad site behind Fauquier Bank. I think that's one of the questions that have come up, whether or not, with its drive-through, would it meet the ordinance standard? So,
And the answer to that is probably no.
yeah, I don't.
Because I think the original rezoning for that property hinged on there being only one drive-through. And I think they traded that for the CVS drive-through, as I recall, or something like that.
Something like that, and then the I-1 district says you can't have something similar one within 400 feet,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have the same provision within the B district, so it has to do something. Anyways,
Yeah.
it's an interesting phenomenon in the town. So McDonald's should be coming through with that, although they're not talking about changing the facade anymore. It's simply dealing with the site issues and the menu boards. Ice rink expansion continues to get reviewed, and I need to talk to you about that under the ZTAs. The gymnastics studio, most of you are already aware of that, but the council allowed a gymnastics studio to start up in the old Rose building where what's in the roofing company? Rose Roofing and somebody else is there right now. Delrana Garage Doors. Part of that condition was a traffic turn lane analysis, or turn lane traffic analysis, and apparently that is underway right now. So we'll see what happens. If that study comes back and requires a turn lane, the gymnastics studio may not go in. If it does not require a turn lane, then they'll move forward, and they have a year with which to get all their improvements put in place. QBE, as most of you know, the rezoning was approved. The BLA was vetted by the Board of Supervisors last week. The council still has to take final action on the BLA. They actually have to vote to execute that agreement. So that's all that's left
I think
on.
the county actually voted on that last Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken.
It was in their motion to actually, the council, when they first sent the BLA up to the board, simply say, can you hold your parallel public hearing? It didn't authorize the mayor and the town attorney to execute the agreement. It simply said, hey, have a hearing. The board's motion did have the actual execution, so we need to bring it back to the council on the 3rd of September. I've gotten some phone calls about renewing the funeral home project. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. We were also at somewhat of an impasse for Signature Kitchens. They're putting an enclosure on the back of their building to expand the Next Level Fitness. There's a question
Which
about
side of the building?
on the back side.
In the travel lane? Or where they've got that storage area?
It's a covered loading bay. Right now they want to enclose it. So the council awarded them temporary occupancy. The challenge for that is Mr. Lombardozzi wants to expand, eventually convert the whole building into a sportsplex use. And under our current parking standards, he wouldn't be able to do it. I thought he was going to be here tonight to talk about it, but we'll talk about it some more later on. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I've only got one thing. I've been asked by somebody about the grading at Pace West. Are we good there, clearing and grading permit-wise?
Taking out, Dominion came in, took out the stuff along Washington Street.
Okay,
That's
so you
actually
did
the
that?
right-of-way.
Okay.
Stuff along Blight, clearing it out. If it gets to the point where it's disturbing it pretty bad, then we'll have to go out there and say something. But right now, it's simply clearing the brush. Talked to Mr. Landry today. They're supposed to probably go out there with a hydroseed and reseed it. They have a requirement through their proffer to submit a site plan by the end of the year. And that site plan will require them to replant basically the buffers that were there. There's an old fence that was in that whole area. But yes, we'll keep an eye
There
on
was a
it.
fence there?
Yep. It was the old,
Where the barbed wire fences in this town.
it was an old field fence with the creosote posts. It's pretty nasty. So,
I must have gone through there 100 times. I've never. Okay, you say so.
I got poison ivy going in there.
All right, old business, historic district.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, you thought correctly that I did get pulled away on some other stuff. Just met with the town staff at a meeting last week, and they are going to help me go ahead and come up with a plan to get the comp plan and all those ETAs to you by early fall so that you can vote on everything by December. The work has let up recently, so we can actually dive into it. But the staff is going to help me quite a bit, just updating our tables, updating a lot of the chapters, so we can knock it out. I've just been overwhelmed by everything else that I'm going to.
That includes the historic district overlay
Yep,
text.
that'll be everything. So.
I'd like to dispose of that one first if you're going to
Okay.
prioritize things.
Yep. And so I've spoken with the town attorney about that. He's given me some direction on some template ordinances. I've actually started to write it, incorporated some other stuff. So you guys have been patient with me. I appreciate that. But I did want to ask if you wanted to add in there at the bottom of the list, looking at the parking ordinance standard as a low priority, getting everything else done first. But
If you're asking my personal opinion, if you make it the lowest of low priorities, I don't care. But I'd much rather
the historic district needs to
solicit
get
everybody
disposed
else's
of.
input. But I want to get the other stuff that we've been working on for
Okay,
a considerable period of time before we take on yet another project.
sounds
I'd
good.
like to see it as number 4 on the list, historic district comp plan, the ZTAs. Look at the parking ordinance. It is an issue that we really need to address and make recommendations to council on how to fix.
I've said for years, get rid of the shared parking provision, but that's just me.
Part of the, I think, what's interesting, the parking study that was done by a graduate student, I just forgot her name. Randy Schaefer. She looked at it, and actually, by her estimates, we were overparked on office, but underparked on restaurant use by like 30%, which is an example is Giuseppe's and how they're constantly underserved. We also, the firehouse was sold, or at least is under a zoning due diligence period. The challenge we're going to have with that property is if it's developed, it's basically going to give Masonic Lodge no parking whatsoever. And parking that site's going to be a challenge. So do we want streetscape in terms of buildings being reused, or would we rather see parking kind of breaking up between the buildings? So it's something we may want to look into. The other challenge we have right now is without any on-street parking or municipal parking, there's literally no place to go other than parking at Town Hall or some other public spot. So anyway, that'll be low on the priority. For next month, we'll have the work plan, get the comp plan done. We'll have the draft text for the historic overlay, and then I'll list the rest of the ordinances that are to be looked at by the end of the year. So thank you for your continued patience on that.
Anybody else? New business. I take it we have to forward a recommendation to council.
Yep.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to recommend Ralph Ring for the 4-year seat ending in June, well, possibly June. That's an issue I have to bring up later, of 2017.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Do I vote on myself?
You can.
You can.
I think I need to because we had that problem with the.
Oh, that's right, we don't, something we had to have at least 4 votes or
Yeah.
something, so.
We've got, let me,
Well, whatever. I vote aye.
Okay. Okay.
Motion to appoint Bob Weir chair?
Second.
Any other nominations?
No. Aye, everyone?
Aye. Fine. Move to appoint Madam Bear vice chair.
Second.
Hey. There, that was easy. Okay.
You have a point here for an ARB liaison.
Do you want to table that until we get Ralph reappointed for?
We can hold that over till next month, that's fine.
And you guys.
You'll serve in the interim, I assume?
Huh?
Yeah, I'll serve in the interim.
1 mile notice.
No movement on that application.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, we can leave it on the agenda. I don't anticipate any action on that from the planning office for 6 months to a year.
Okay. We'll get notice if it comes back up again, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice placeholder, but
Okay.
I don't anticipate us having to issue a comment for at least 6 months and probably longer than that, assuming it doesn't get pulled.
I think the biggest thing we want to just reemphasize with them, not only the traffic issue, but the service issue. We're going to be expected to provide police support, and how is that going to change our,
Yeah.
what's the name of the agreement?
The mutual aid agreement.
Mutual aid agreement, so.
Anything else?
For our next meeting, I would like the planning commission to look at our bylaws. There are just a few corrections that need to be made, and it calls for us to have a secretary. We've always used the clerk, just some wording differences.
Could you add
That
that
can
to
be
the
fixed.
next month's agenda, please, Jim? That being said,
Motion to adjourn?
second?
Aye.
Aye. That was quick.
We need to look at the bylaws.
Amazingly fast.
It was a conversation we had, so I pulled out the bylaws.
Are you that bored?